Donald, we've got to hurry. We only have 3 minutes left to defuse the bomb.
Bomb? How is that writing related, David?
We're in a narrative facility, you see, where characters perform their necessary actions to keep the plot going. But the writer threw in a contrived plot device bomb, and if we don't defuse it, then the whole narrative facility will be irrevocably obliterated.
That's the forced analogs we're using today. Narrative facilities, character workers, and contrived plot device bombs. May the writ never change, David.
We don't have time to reflect on our indulgence, Donald. We've got to stop the bomb.
Let me guess. We have to cut the right story trope wires and defuse the bomb by turning the contrived plot device into something more natural that could further the narrative in a more authentic manner.
Now we just have to figure out whether to cut the red wire or the blue wire. The analogs only go so far.
Oh, for God's sakes, the red wire and blue wire. That parody has been done 1.5 billion times, and it was old after the first parody. What are we even parodying anymore? When was the last time you saw the red wire, blue wire trope played seriously? Like 1998? It's only done as parody nowadays.
Donald, quick! We have to defuse the bomb or the narrative...
It's like the butler doing the murder. Everyone says the butler is always the one who did the murder. But when has the butler actually ever done the murder? I've read parts of an Agatha Christie book, and there was no murderer butlers there, let me tell you.
Donald, come on!
Or it's like people say, looks like we're in a sticky situation, when someone accidentally glued their fingers together or something. There's no joke to that. Sticky situations are only ever acknowledged when they're puns. No one in the history of ever has ever said, looks like we're in the sticky situation without an actual adhesive in play.
Come on, red wire or blue wire? Donald, just tell me which one to cut.
Anything I could tell you has been done in a parody before. I could tell you to cut both and it'd have been done. I could tell you to cut the green wire instead and it'd have been done. I could tell you to merge the two wires together chromatically and cut a purple wire and it'd have been done. I could tell you to film this in sepia tone and cut the grayish brown wire and it'd have been freaking done.
Which one, Donald? Which one? The narrative facility is about to blow!
I don't care. Cut the red wire.
Okay, the red wire. The red wire. Wait a second. All the wires are red!
Yep, that's been done before too. Why don't you press the cancellation button?
Cancellation button? Of course! Let me look for it. Here. Ah, here it is! Wait, out of order? Frick! Even on a podcast, nothing works.
Well, it looks like the bomb is going to go off and there's nothing we can do about it. The narrative facility is about to become a crater.
No, there must be something we can do. We can't let this contrived plot device bomb go off. The narrative facility will be...
I don't give a damn about the narrative facility. If all it takes is one contrived plot device for it to lose all its integrity, then it wasn't a very good narrative to begin with. Let this facility burn. I welcome this bomb with open arms.
10 seconds left!
Embrace it, David. Embrace the destruction of the narrative.
3, 2, 1, take cover!
Oh, dear God, that stinks. I gotta say, I wasn't expecting that.
It's like when I took my Aunt Edna to Taco Bell. But wait, if all the bomb does is fart, does that mean the narrative facility wasn't ever in danger?
Not from a single contrived plot device bomb. It's the ultimate analog. One contrived plot device isn't enough to fully destroy a narrative, even though it might leave a big stink.
Well, that's a relief.
Absolutely. Have a little faith in your story. Though if there's a second contrived plot device...
Oh no! It's another contrived plot device bomb! And it's even bigger!
Well, crap. Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of the Writ, the show where we challenge conventional wisdom about the written word. Why does Shakespeare matter anyway? We don't even use half the vocabulary nowadays. He's old news, man.
Of course you would say that Shakespeare is old news, even though he wrote some very seminal works.
Yes,
go figure that
and
out.
I was an English major, so I had to read a lot of Shakespeare, and I had to learn, oh yes, he was very important to language. In fact, the beginning of modern English can be directly attributed to his writings, but come on!
Well, it's really interesting. This is not what I talked about and what I'll rip off from this month, but there's a show that I'm currently watching called K-Tai Investigator 7. It's about a cell phone who can basically walk around and do like a bunch of incredible things. And
sounds very Japanese.
It is, but
yes.
in the show, well, K-Tai is the word for cell phone.
I know.
Anyway, so there's the character who starts writing cell phone novels. And so over half of the text is like emojis or those random symbol things that are supposed to signify emotions and stuff. It's so dumb.
Oh, God.
Now, we're not that depraved here, but Shakespeare is kind of outdated.
I'll happily take Shakespeare over that. My love, your face is beauty to behold.
Romeo,
Yours specifically, yes. No.
Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
A moment away from your gaze is an eternity past.
I'm feeling the love.
Yeah, you should. You should, hot stuff. Subscribe to his OnlyFans.
I mean, the only thing that could possibly make this worse if we were stuck on a ship at sea.
Yeah, why?
Because then we'd be like alone with no escape from each other and the smoldering gazes that he's throwing my way here.
Oh, yes, of course. And plus, you know how sailors, when they were on the high seas for months on end, they were so desperate for women that they found these ugly sea cow manatees and thought, man, what a beautiful mermaid.
And this is why piracy is a bad thing, kids.
Ah, yes. Arr, har, har. Sail the high seas, be hearty. Thank you for allowing us to complete that joke in this set.
We're back with the last episode of the 2020 Witties.
Yes.
That is probably the most fun I will have in the rest of this episode.
Oh, come on. You love this. We all know you love this. You just need to admit it. You just need to admit it to yourself.
Crap. However, because 2020 was such a very special year for not great reasons in many cases, that we're doing something a little bit different. We've never really looked ahead.
Yeah.
For the Witties before.
Well, and plus, since you're probably not going to be on any of the later Witties, this gives you an opportunity to talk about some of this stuff, hopefully. So, yeah. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, my legacy to the Witties will be nominee, which we're not there yet. Don't start. But
I'll just make that a button. I'll just press as well as the spoiler siren button or like the ding button. I can just press
the spoiler siren isn't really a siren, and that we never have used that one. It's the whole foghorn thing.
Yeah, the foghorn, the ding. And then I'll just have a nominee button on this. Yeah.
Anyway, so
why don't I just replace you with a button overall? Just do the show myself.
It's entirely up to you.
What do you think about this writing thing, Matt? Nominee. Oh, that's very interesting, Matt.
Anything else to add?
Nominee.
So yeah, for this, because we obviously need to make it 4 episodes, we kind of ran out of stuff to do unless we looked ahead.
Well, and plus, so much got delayed from 2022 next year that we thought we'd talk about some of it.
Right. And speaking of which, the first category for this last episode of the Witties is works we were saddest not to rip off in 2020.
AKA most disappointing delayed work. It's most work. The work we're most disappointed about being delayed, not
because of 2020.
Not a work that was disappointing after it was delayed. We saw it and we're like, oh, whatever.
It just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
This isn't those. These are the ones. Yeah. These are the ones that we're like, darn it, we really wanted to see them in 2020.
But alas.
We could not. And a lack of a lass. But anyway, speaking of lasses, the first nominee.
Black Widow.
What a segue.
I know. They just need to release it on Disney Plus at this point. Like, they can take the hits. And plus, all this other Marvel stuff is coming to Disney Plus now. They can't keep pushing it back because they're so desperate for...
I don't know if they're desperate for the theater dollars that they quote-unquote expect, or if it's because there's literally an exclusive deal.
There could be. Maybe they can alter the deal a little, Darth Vader style, and do at least a hybrid release.
Well, I mean, Wonder Woman 84, which we do talk about later in the episode as well, I know, but...
do we? Oh, yeah, we do, yes.
Not very much, because it released in 2020, of course. But it was technically delayed during 2020 as well, for what it's worth. Anyhow.
I get the hybrid release model, though, because here in the U.S., we've handled this pandemic a lot worse than other countries.
Heck.
Other countries like China, and Australia is another one, too, they've handled it so much better. And, of course, New Zealand.
Japan has also handled it the best they can. I even think that Mexico has handling it better than the U.S.
Like Tenet. I've talked crap about it last time, and how I talked about how he was being really unreasonable releasing in theaters during a pandemic. If you look at its global box office, it's actually not bad. It's offset by its really lacking domestic box office because, we don't have enough people stupid enough to go to theaters, thankfully.
Well, theaters aren't exactly open for people to go unless they're
Some of them
private
are.
parties.
Some of them are, but yeah, it's like so. Yeah, like Tenet has like a worldwide gross of about 350 million or something, and 300 million of that is offshore. It's not great, but for in the middle of a pandemic, it's pretty good. So I get them the hybrid release model. Like for us sick Americans. Give us an option to see it in at home. Everywhere else, they can also see it at home if they still don't feel safe, or they can go see it in theaters. So,
for what it's worth, I'm always a guy who preaches patience as a virtue for a reason. Yet, at some point, it's just corporate greed selling out for more money.
Well, and plus,
putting these things
costs them money every time they delay it, and every time it just sits on the shelf.
I don't know. I mean, unless they decide to do reshoots or something, which would legitimately cost them money, plus they have to get everything cleared to do filming. But if it's already done and it's just gathering dust, I suppose they aren't necessarily losing money.
Well, it depends on when they delay it. You were aware what happened to the James Bond movie No Time to Die, right? Which is very ironically named now.
Yeah, there's plenty of time to die before it's released.
Plenty of time. In fact, we need a bit more time. It was supposed to release.
Maybe we should have had that as a nominee in the category. Spoiler alert: it's not.
I don't really care about James Bond enough.
I actually do enjoy James
Bond.
But I haven't.
It's an honorary nominee.
But I haven't seen pretty much any of Daniel Craig's films.
Didn't you see some of them or one of them? Or?
No, my dad had a VHS collection of pretty much
I
everything up to Pierce Brosnan's.
Oh, so you didn't even have GoldenEye.
No, we did have GoldenEye. We had GoldenEye, The World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day.
Die Another Day was the last Pierce Brosnan one.
And Die Another Day was on DVD, I think. The others were all on VHS. And every one after that we've gotten DVDs, but for one reason or another I never have gotten around to watching them.
Ah, yes.
Anyway.
But, so, the reason...
This has nothing to do with Black Widow,
Well, what I bring it up for is that went full marketing blitz. Like, they had posters, they had, like, train stations or bus stations... or bus stops, decked out with the stuff. They had, like, their special luxury watches, that James Bond always has. They had those sponsored deals. And then they delayed it because, I think it was supposed to release in April of last year.
Yeah, something like that.
So that cost them a lot of money. So they guys specifically do all the marketing again.
Depends if you rework contracts and language in them. Anyway,
but
Black Widow, I mean, what is there to say? It's finally a solo film led by a female in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, obviously, WandaVision
what about
is airing.
Captain Marvel?
Well, Captain Marvel too. But like Captain Marvel was literally introduced in that movie, whereas we've had Black Widow in the MCU for a long time.
Black Widow needs her own. She's been needing her own movie for a while.
It's been very overdue.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we have to wait even longer thanks to COVID-19,
it sucks, man.
Anyway, nominee.
The Eternals, again, to fill our Marvel quota.
Well, I don't know if we're ever going to have any other quotas. As I mentioned last time or the time before, I can't remember which, but I'm dreading the day when it's like, okay, well, we got to make sure we have something from Hulu.
We don't have to do specifically one from each streaming service. Maybe we should do one from certain companies or something like what
that doesn't change the point, but anyway,
well,
the Eternals.
Just one DC movie, one Marvel movie, one book, one.
Well, to be fair, we do try and not always load it up with one of a single category form of media. But anyway, it is worth mentioning that the Eternals has a star-studded cast, and so
yes.
it is really nice to see the results of all these bigger name actors acting. But we couldn't.
And I guess the only reason why I'm not as sad about this as Black Widow is we haven't had a single trailer for the Eternals yet. We have no idea what the movie even looks like. Like, I can't even visualize the movie in my head. Like, I have no idea. Is it going to be like an Asgard or a Wonder Woman, sort of like crystal spires and togas, sort of a Krypton sort of thing? Or is it going to be like Guardians of the Galaxy? I have no idea. Is it even going to be space at all? I have no idea. I know nothing about the Eternals. So other than
what
that
they
live a long time. Some might say eternally, but
some might say. Well, it's worth noting that as somebody who's done this research, it's well worth the time to, look into that stuff so you can kind of have expectations. It is also worth noting in the comics source that they have a very intrinsic connection to Thanos.
Yes, see, that's the thing. Are the Titans eternal, or is it just Thanos?
I believe the term you're looking for is the Deviants, which was an offshoot of the Eternals, and Thanos is one of them.
Well, Thanos' planet is named Titan. I don't know if his race is named Titan.
I believe they're named the Deviants, but they were an offshoot of the Eternals.
Okay. So
now, anybody who knows I'm wrong, please get in touch with us. Let me know.
See, I was always wondering why Thanos was so strong. So I guess that makes sense.
These people are supposed to be basically equal to Thanos in power.
Right, yeah.
So, you really want to see what they're going to do. Of course, as I mentioned about Thanos, they put him in so early, and it took forever for them to live up to it, but I'm also understanding why they didn't do it until then, because he is so powerful. Where do you go from there?
Well, and looking back on it, if they had introduced him later, just before they built him up, I think people probably would have been like, oh, that's kind of sudden. Like, oh, you're suddenly bringing in this big one. Because they would have to...
I don't know, because of how long it had already been going by that point.
But, they had to bring to speed all the Infinity Stones. And once they started doing that, people would have gotten the idea if they hadn't had officially announced Thanos.
If they knew the comics at all, that is.
Right.
Anyway, moving on from our Marvel Fest, nominee
Halo Infinite, just so we could have a video game. And this
don't even care about Halo.
Yeah, I couldn't care less. Let's make this No Time to Die instead. But actually, no, it shares.
But then we don't have a video game scene.
Yeah, because that's the only video game I know of that was delayed, that was supposed to come out in 2020.
We did talk about Cyberpunk 2077.
But that came out in 2020 rather than 2021.
Oh, okay.
The only video game I know of that was supposed to come out in 2020 but has been delayed to 2021.
Fair enough.
I have fond memeries playing Halo in bars, certain houses, or certain hangouts with people where you'd plug 2 TVs in, you'd have 8-player split screen, 4 on each.
Good lord,
it was great, good stuff. Other than that, I have no relationship to Halo.
Yay for missing those. Well, in Halo, I'm sure there's a decent attempt at making novelizations and adding story and adding universe bits, but because I've never played it that thoroughly, I don't care to really find out about that stuff, and so I don't have that affection for the depth.
I've played
that said, it is worth mentioning, like Wonder Woman 84, that Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed. It did come out in 2020, but it was
so it doesn't count to
this,
but yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Do we have anything more to say about Halo Infinite?
I don't know. Just
other than apparently Halo will never die?
Nope. Halo 3, I remember, was supposed to be the end. In fact, Halo 3's tagline was "Finish the fight." So...
Good, I can play it and be done with the whole dang franchise.
Well, most people assume that since that's when Bungie left. I mean, not that they did some spin-offs later, but Halo 4 was done by a new studio that was sort of like, Insomniac, and then whatever one did.
It's probably a better comparison is Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Well, no, I was gonna say it's like the new Halo game is that they're made by a studio that has a lot of ex-Bungie people in it, so sort of like High Impact Games. That's the one I was thinking of. Like Insomniac.
Insomniac to High Impact. There you go.
Which High Impact Games has a lot of Insomniac employees in it. So
we might mention Insomniac again. Just saying.
Okay.
Nominee.
Any book we should have read in 2020, but we were just too damn busy, I swear.
Yeah, too dang busy, sitting on our thumbs, wondering what was coming next, and really enjoying the fact that the pandemic forced life to slow down ever so much.
I have... Literally, there is no better time to sit down and read books, but... We're just too damn busy, I swear.
I mean, I'm always behind the curve on all this pop culture stuff, which is why I say I'm so underqualified for the Witties job in general. But...
It's fun.
But I did manage to do quite a lot of things that were not reading. So, sorry, books. It's not that we don't love you. Obviously, we talk about writing.
See, the thing about writing is that since we don't say writing, I mean, we do say writing, of course, but we also say writing. Writing...
Which is more nebulous.
Yeah, it's more nebulous to the point where it's like, it doesn't have to be about books.
Well, and lest we ignore the impact of story in particularly video games of late, the story writing is getting better in those.
Yes.
And comic books we tend to ignore because they are a specific form of media, but storytelling happens in so many different places than just a cover-bound book.
Right.
So let's throw that out. Anyway.
That's our excuse. Yes, we thought about it very thoroughly, listeners.
Yes, we thought about it so thoroughly.
Anyways.
But, I mean, given how much we talked about one and not the others, is there really any suspense who's winner in this category?
Yeah, well, it's obviously one of the Marvel ones.
Must be one of the Marvel ones.
And only one of them has had a trailer that made us think, oh, it's a shame we didn't get to see that sooner. So, the winner is Black Widow.
To no one's surprise, ScarJo is amazing.
She is,
in many ways.
except when she plays Asian characters.
We did talk about whitewashing last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, we'll move on to the next category, and that is works we are dreading others ripping off in 2021.
AKA least anticipated work of 2021. The ones that were just like, another one of those, or like...
Well, a whole lot of these are another one of whatever, and that's just... Well, we always get on people's certain creators' case about not being creative. The fact that Hollywood continues to go back to the well with existing IPs is unfortunate as a trend.
Like, what are the original film properties released
since, like, 2018 even.
Or since 2010?
Oh, my God.
You got all Christopher Nolan's movies, except for the Batman movies, are original, so that's something. Pacific Rim was a brief movie franchise. Even though it was inspired by a lot of other things,
that's true.
It's still its own original
Well, and how
idea.
much is homage? Because Ready Player One film came out between
But that was a
now
book.
And
So
it was a book originally, but it was a new IP.
It was a new IP. See, I don't mind when books that haven't been movies yet are turned into movies. Like, that's fine. I don't mind Hollywood being unoriginal in that way, because that's a new medium. That's why I also like the Marvel movies, because most of these movies are from comic books that have never been movies. That's why I'm not really like too fussed about Robert Pattinson being Batman, or it's just like, not because I have anything against the casting. I'm just like, oh, another Batman.
Well, and I absolutely am nut for superheroes in general, obviously. So I obviously don't mind, but for other things, like it's become notable as the death of the mid-budget rom-com,
yes,
and stuff like that. Now, romantic comedies in general are so trite and overdone that there really aren't too many new things to do.
This is actually might be a benefit to this whole pandemic forcing everything to streaming. Streaming is great for mid-budget movies.
That is true. Netflix is doing a lot for that class of movie
Adam
making.
Sandler's 10 last movies have been Netflix original. So
some creators were really excited that are still, kicking around and doing what they do, because usually it's something that they can renew.
Right.
One creator that we'll mention here in a little bit is not so much.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, nominee
Cruella, the Wicked of 101 Dalmatians that no one asked for. Emma Stone may be great.
Is she starring as Cruella?
Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
She may be great, but no one wants to know the sympathetic backstory behind a woman who wants to skin puppies.
Well, maybe cat lovers, dog haters, which they are a thing. I just don't know many.
There's just all these... There's so many things that are like origin stories for a character, and it's just like... I don't know, it's like all these titles that are just like the last name, or I guess in this case the first name. Just one name sort of thing.
But at least it's iconic, a name. You know exactly who they're talking about.
There's going to be a Willy Wonka prequel about Wonka's origins called, you guessed it, Wonka.
I mean, Willy's already taken, right?
A movie just called Willy.
Don't go into the theaters wet, kids.
Oh, God. Oh, man. All right. So, but then, Joker was a thing. So watch, this is going to be like another one called Cobblepots.
Well, and talking about Cruella, it's notable that Disney has kind of gone to the well on this already, because I was thinking of, speaking of Angelina Jolie to star in the Eternals, Maleficent.
Yes. They've done that before. And also, to be fair, they've done a live-action 101 Dalmatians before. It was in the 90s.
Glenn Close.
It was way before any of the other ones.
Was amazing as Cruella. I remember that.
Yeah,
But I prefer the animated version better. Of course, there's also a cartoon that may or may not have played into that love.
No, I have more fond memories of the original live-action one, just because of the 90s live-action one, I mean.
Which is after the original animated one.
No, the original live-action one, as in this is a new live-action one.
Oh, okay.
That's what I meant. But that was kind of confusing. It's like Jasper and Horace, or whatever those two. They're so the pratfalls they go through. These puppies and other animals give them so much
You make Joe
they make them
Pesci look like
they
a
suffer
straight
through
man.
all this stuff, and so finally when they're wandering through the woods and they see a police cars after them, they're like, thank the Lord. We're saved.
They make Joe Pesci's character in Home Alone look like
Yes!
a straight man.
Yes, exactly. It's just so like they're getting in the back of the van. They're like, "Thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, this is nice, isn't it? Nice and warm."
Nice and warm, even though we're going to jail.
It's just so
All
funny.
right, moving on to our next nominee.
Minions: The Rise of Gru and Sing 2. Illumination is the worst animation company out there, just because it's so. They have mastered the low-budget animated movie that's meant to appeal to as many demographics as possible with the least amount of effort.
Hey, it's a quick buck, but quick bucks are not always the most rewarding things.
Like, I get that not every animation studio can be Pixar, where you have...
Well, and Pixar is falling a little bit from their wagon of being like the studio that never went too far in sequel territory.
They've said they're not going to release sequels for another at least 5 or 6 years. So they've got this year they had Onward, and then they had Soul,
right? And
then next year they have Luca or something like that. The last universal common ancestor. Listen to Paleobites. No, that's not that, but something like
Ding. I don't know.
Yeah, I just did an episode. Last universal common. Anyways,
I don't know if it's even going to be published by the time this episode comes out.
It just published last week.
Oh, okay, that's what you meant. Yeah, so go listen to that. Ding, and what's over with.
Okay, there's that, and then there's some other movie. I forget what it is. It's an all original movie. There's this one about this Chinese girl that's going through puberty, and every time she gets excited, she turns into a giant fluffy red panda. I'm not making this up. Oh yeah, and there's Lightyear, which I guess isn't technically an original movie, but
that's not the same. Oh yeah, that is Pixar. Yeah. Oh God, what was?
Oh, that's another one of those one word titles of like a famous character. Lightyear. Buzz
wouldn't make sense. It might be about bees for all we know. That
might be about Buzz Aldrin.
Sorry,
the other spaceman
you
named
said
Buzz.
turning into a red panda, and that reminds me of there's a manga called Ranma 1/2, and the main character and the father character have this thing with water, and if it's hot water, they transform one way. If it's cold water, they transform another way.
Whoa.
So the dad accidentally, I think, permanently becomes a panda. But Ranma,
sucks.
the character, if the character is hit with hot water, becomes female, and if it doused with cold water, becomes male.
Hey, you know what? Actually, that's actually based off of crocodiles. Crocodile eggs. The hotter ones become females. The colder ones become males.
I know nothing about the backstory.
Listen to my
that.
show, Paleobites. Actually, we haven't talked about that specifically yet, but... Anyways, Illumination.
Speaking of which, nominee.
The Paleobites podcast. The listenership is growing? Seriously, why does anyone listen to this crap? Or this Copperlights, I should say.
This Copperlights, yes. Copperlight Posting is a group on Facebook that Donald is a member of.
Paleontology Copperlight Posting. Good stuff.
Yes. If you get the joke, it's even funnier.
Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of explained the joke here when saying, this crap, this Copperlight sort of thing.
Well, maybe.
There's not much to say other than just...
Well, I mean, depends on how anticipated it is. If it's least anticipated by you,
by
maybe,
me,
I guess.
I'm not anticipating this thing's growing listenership, but I'm going to keep doing it because I love it.
Well, obviously, you enjoy it.
It's
so I
like
don't know why it's on here anyway.
Yeah, I love doing
self-deprecation
it.
humor.
Yeah, it's just self-deprecation. Like, why is anyone listening to my crap?
Anyway, the last nominee.
Top Gun Maverick, another long-delayed sequel.
And here is where we get to the guy I was mentioning earlier. Tom Cruise is courageous in trying to do all of his own stunts at his advanced age, but seriously, do something that's safer. My God.
That's just asking Tom Cruise to, like, not sleep or, like, not eat. That's who he is. He's gonna move. There's a movie coming out where he's literally going to space. Like, the guy is a daredevil.
There's nothing wrong with being a daredevil, but the shtick is worn thin with me. Like, I don't think Top Gun deserves a follow-up.
That's how I feel about the Jackass guys.
Oh, yeah.
All of them are in their 50s, and they are beat up, man. Like, they have some bone problems.
I wonder why.
One of them, I think, might even be dead. Like, I think
one of them passed.
And I'm just like, what was the point of it? You guys did this to yourselves for our entertainment, and has dramatically shortened your life. Was it worth it?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I mean, there are only a couple of things that I've heard about Top Gun Maverick that are like legitimately okay. That's probably not a terrible idea. The first is that they address Goose's family.
yes.
Like the side character, the secondary character in this one is supposed to be Goose's son now,
Yes.
which is really nice to see after what happened in the first one. Otherwise, I don't know why Maverick is still flying at this point anyway.
What war are they fighting? Like,
it makes no sense to me, and as much as I appreciate what Tom Cruise has done, I think he could ride into the sunset and be content. He won't. I get that.
no,
I'm just worried that if he tries something and he gets too far and he does something absolutely horrible, irreversible to himself, that's the concern.
Maybe he's like Steve Irwin, and then he's gonna die from something super mundane.
Well, it could be that too. But I mean, sorry to tie my typical thing into this, but the original show Kamen Rider had an actor who was playing the main role, and he insisted on doing all of his own stunts.
Yes.
Now, in Kamen Rider, they don't dare do it. Why?
Right.
Guy broke his leg, had to leave the show for months.
Well, whoops.
And that is exactly why. You know, if Tom Cruise does something trying to do his own stunts and he injures himself such that the filming schedule is put off and it changes everything.
He did that for the last Mission Impossible movie. He broke his foot.
Which we were talking before recording about how it was a missed opportunity. They should have called it Mission Impossible 6.
Well, it was the sixth one, yeah, so
It
MI6.
But it would have been MI6.
But then
Instead,
they would have had to fit it in with the British somehow.
They wouldn't have to. That'd just be like the giant middle finger. Ha ha, we're going to name this and not worry about it at all. That said, I do believe that England's intelligence has played a role in Mission Impossibles before, so I guess it's not exactly new ground for them.
Yeah, they could do
But
it.
that's not about Top Gun. But Top Gun Maverick explicitly
The only
being
reason
on
why
this-
I'm remotely interested, because I could not care less about Top Gun. It's one of those 80s cheese things I just have no interest in watching. I'm too late on the boat. Maybe if I'd watched it when I was a kid, I could have appreciated it.
Well, you couldn't have watched it as a kid for certain scenes in the film.
Right.
but-
Well, my parents would have covered my eyes for those scenes, but but yeah, the only reason why I'm interested is that Tom Cruise, being the madman he is flying the jets, and the footage is of him flying the jets.
It is pretty legit.
Yeah.
I can't quit that.
So
But all right, so we've talked about our 4 nominees. We obviously did think of a long time about Top Gun Maverick, but that was more of a me thing rather than a we thing. So it's worth noting with that, the winner is
Cruella, another live-action Disney movie that can just
not that Black Widow can do that, but anyway.
live-action adaptation of an animated movie from Disney that can just. Emma Stone's great though. Maybe she'll kill it.
Maybe she will. Maybe not. Hopefully not a puppy though.
She'll kill the puppy.
Boom.
Moving
on.
It'll end with her of killing her first puppy.
Moving on to our next category. Parts we'll definitely rip off from works in 2021.
AKA anticipated favorite element of a work in 2021.
Nominee.
The Battles of Godzilla vs. Kong. Rooting for Kong, by the way.
All right, fine. Then I guess I'll take bad cop and root for Zilla because apparently nationalism is like out. Either way, the viewers probably win, and I honestly don't care which outcome happens.
Look, they've said, they can say all they want, there's going to be a definitive winner, but it's going to end with them
The
teaming up
stalemate.
against
Like
some
Mecha Godzilla.
Mecha Godzilla or something. We all know,
I've heard that rumor as well.
or like Mecha Ghidorah or something. I don't know.
Ghidorah doesn't have a mecha version.
I think
but
he
anyway.
does. I don't remember, but how would you know, Mister? I don't like kaiju person.
To
Yeah.
be fair, kaiju is
I mean, I don't know either,
totally
to be fair.
tokusatsu.
Yeah, it is.
But I am involved in a couple of very active communities on Discord that do really like kaiju, and so they've been talking about all the developments and stuff like this
Okay, well then I guess
related to the movie. Now, it is interesting to note that based on the Mecha Godzilla rumors that Ghidorah may actually have a role to play in that anyway, but
At the end of the last one, there's a post-credit scene because that's the thing that Marvel has made popular now, even though they've existed before Marvel.
Hey, I would do it without worrying about a post-credit scene because I wanted to appreciate the village that it took to make the film. Most people don't give two craps about that.
Right, that's
but-
true. That's true. Yeah, we'll watch the credits and see all the people. But anyways, they saved one of Ghidorah's heads, so that we don't know what they're doing with it. So
I haven't seen the first two. I guess if I'm going to watch Godzilla vs. Kong, I should probably do that.
I don't really care for the first one. The second one's pretty good. The Kong Skull Island is pretty good.
Didn't it have Tom Hiddleston in it?
It did have Tom Hiddleston in it, and Brie Larson, and Samuel L. Jackson, and John C. Reilly.
Maybe that's why they put a post-credits scene in, because they had so many Marvel Cinematic Universe stalwarts.
That's true.
Well, except John C. Reilly isn't a stalwart. Moving on!
Yes, but, anyways, I'm just rooting for Kong because he's such an obvious underdog. Like, Godzilla has so much more advantages against him.
It depends on which incarnation of Godzilla it is. I honestly don't know enough about this one to say, but, like, there are some that have atomic breath.
He has atomic breath. He has survived nukes point blank. He can radiate into burning Godzilla and just obliterate a city. He has survived falls from miles high. Like, Kong is just a big monkey. And this one does use weapons, so that's cool. So he uses tools, and he's also the same height as Godzilla in this one too. So,
which is not always true.
No, the Peter Jackson one, and I think the original one too, they're about 20, 25 feet tall. This one's 300 feet. So.
That is a big, chunky monkey.
That is a big monkey. Anyways.
Monkey? Oh,
whatever.
Monkey. Nominee!
The fanboy tears when Dune inevitably flops. This is just me being petty against movie boards.
Notice how much he knows about box office gross and stuff. I just don't.
Yeah.
If you hadn't figured it out by now, listeners.
Anyways, this is going on long enough. Let's just move on.
Nominee.
Empowering female-led vehicles like Black Widow and belatedly for Wonder Woman 1984.
Makes sense. I mean, we're seeing them on both sides. Obviously, 84 is more relevant to the time we're recording these Witties, but obviously Wonder Woman before it too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a little overdue to have women kind of in charge on screen. Now, obviously, Patty Jenkins was behind the cameras for Wonder Woman already.
Right.
But, like, to have female talent led on screen that is more, shall we say, established, because obviously Captain Marvel did happen.
Right. Well, and also, that's just nice with the representation sort of thing. And, like, in that sort of that same boat, Black Panther was notable, not only to have a black main character and a whole black cast, except for, the token white guys. But it also had a black director, black writers, and black producers, other than Kevin Feige, of course.
Well, sure.
So yeah, like that. It's good to have that kind of representation both in front of and behind the camera. So.
Especially, there's a big movement in sports right now that women are finally attaining jobs that have never been held by women before. And if you like whatever this is, so it's a film, it's being a director, it is aiming to star on screen, it is aiming to be a general manager for a baseball team, that finally women are seeing people that more resemble them doing this. So it's no longer like, oh, this is unattainable, I should just give up on this dream and move on. That I love.
Well, when last year, or I guess the year before now,
2019?
Time flies. During the Oscars, when I heard a lot of talk about Joker winning Best Original Score, and when it did, and the composer came up, I was like, oh, whoa, it's a woman. I had no idea. That's really cool. It was. She had a Scandinavian name or something, so I couldn't tell based on the name if it was a man or a woman.
Gonna sound a bit like a feminist here. # women can too.
That's the least you can do. Say that women can. It is possible for them to. Yes.
Well, I mean,
that is the least you can say. Yes.
What should I say? Women should? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
# all should. Anyway.
Oh, yes.
All right, but last nominee.
Euphoric returns to creative expression thanks to a lifting of restrictions once the vaccine gets broadly spread. See all those delayed premieres already set for 2021.
I mean, come on. It's great.
Why is this one? We've already pre-decided our winners this time. Well, I think this one should be the winner, honestly.
Well...
I mean, I don't know. I guess, empowering female-led windows is good too.
Well, okay. This is something that when creators are put in restrictions that they tend to thrive, even sometimes against their will. But, creators have been working this entire time to do things. That I love. But it's not really a watershed moment because we've had people having to be stifled creatively before. I mean, it's great that we're expecting the pandemic's effects to go away
Vaccines
in 2021,
such
that you can start going to movies again. You can start actually getting these things released that have
I'm
been
gonna
put
go
off.
to a concert this year. I've never been to a concert before, but I want
I don't know if I've ever been to like a live concert for like a rock band.
I don't even care what it is.
Go see the Colorado Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah, that might actually be more up my alley. But
Well, and the two of us can go.
But
I'd
I
love
also
to go.
kind of want to go to a big, screaming, sweaty concert full of people just crowding
just in
together.
the middle of a mosh pit.
There are drugs all over. People are sweating and spitting
Simply to say he
and
can,
burping
listeners.
just so I can. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's really exciting that we're coming out of this, and we're going to see people who are, writing about positive things again. New songs will be coming out. Things
Yes.
won't have to be delayed anymore, and that is amazing. But it is not as watershed as finally getting representation. And so I think without
You're
further
right.
ado, the
Yes.
winner must be
Empowering female-led vehicles. It's kind of funny. I was looking back to the last Witties, and when I was listing all the different nominees for the things we liked, and then you got on to me for saying Black Panther, a little bit lower pitched, like Black Panther, like this. You were like, why do you sound so defeated for that one? It made me had to explain myself. I didn't think of this at the time, but my logic, and I'm saying this a year too late, since it was the last one, I'm saying it in a slightly more final tone. Aquaman, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, Black Panther.
Black Panther.
See, that's what I meant. So let me address that in case.
In case people were worried that he was like dissing the... No, I'm kidding. Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on to our last category, because we'd love to get off of this and do something else yet. We're running out of time in the studio today.
We got 2 hours left.
All right, our last category for the Witties of 2020 edition. Works we plan to rip off the most in 2021.
All right, let's go through these.
AKA the most anticipated work.
There's only 2 here. Actually, no, there's 3 here that we haven't talked about before. So
Yeah, there are 3 that we haven't mentioned yet.
So we'll just go through the first 2. I guess we'll say these a little bit out of order we have them here. But let's go through the first 2 that we've talked about already.
Okay.
All right.
Nominee.
Black Widow.
Nominee.
Godzilla vs. Kong.
And now we actually get to do some more talking. Nominee.
The Suicide Squad. James Gunn's attempt at this franchise.
Well, and James Gunn has the kind of irreverent humor that's going to go well in this, I think.
And I just love that he's incorporating a lot of bonker stuff. The Polka Dot Man's going to be in this.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that the Suicide Squad, ever since it was introduced in the comics, has always been about the stakes of you might not see them, so don't get too attached or hope they win the lottery.
So throw in a bunch of Z-list characters. You don't know which one of them is going to kick it,
I'm just laughing because, like, the Suicide Squad has an entire roster. The Suicide Squad 2, it's an entirely different roster.
Right. All that's returning is Harley Quinn, right?
Well, yeah.
Is Joker...
No, Captain Boomerang, I think, is back, too.
Okay. Will Smith is not.
No,
but
Deadshot he was
is
replaced
not.
by Idris Elba.
Oh, wait, is that confirmed that Idris Elba's playing Deadshot?
No, he's playing a different character, but it's notable because of the whole representation thing kind of a thing.
Okay. That's right. We got to have at least one black guy. I mean, they got to make
the Tolkien white man in Black Panther.
Right, we got to have... So... we can't just have him be another role. No, he's got to be the role as the token black guy.
Well, and no, I'm not saying that's his role. The characters are quite similar on the surface, but below that,
we don't know. Wait, do we know who Idris Elba is playing?
I think I think the character's name is Bloodsport or something.
Bloodsport.
Something along those lines.
Bloodshot. That came out last year.
But anyway,
With Vin Diesel.
Bloodshot is a different comics creator. That's Valiant Comics.
Yes.
I really want to see that. Anyway,
I've heard it's okay.
Which, I mean, you know my position on bad media.
It's
so
better than I expected.
Well, no, I was going for more. I'm looking for the positives, and so I'm going to think it's all right, even if it's otherwise accepted garbage.
It's better than I expected.
That's just not having any expectations. Moving on. Nominee.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Oh,
yeah.
Finally, a return to one of the consoles, not the console, well, the console, but like one of the game series that we have spent so many hours of our lives playing.
PS5. We're finally getting a female Lombax that isn't Angela Cross because they seem to have forgotten about her.
Well, except for fanfic writers, they probably have not.
Yep, this one's blue. So
well, I mean, if it's a rift, then it could be completely parallel dimension. It could be a bunch of shenanigans.
That's true.
So maybe they are blue there. Who knows?
Yeah, this one's blue, and I guess we don't know if she's the same height, because Angela was a lot taller than Ratchet.
But this is probably not going to be Angela again.
No, I know it's not going to be the character Angela, but I'm just saying our all-female Lombax is tall. The only reason they did that, I think, was to disguise...
Because she was in the disguise.
As the thief, yeah. It wouldn't be so threatening if the thief wasn't was the same size as Ratchet. So Ratchet's supposed to be kind of the shortest person there, even except for Clank.
Of course.
Ratchet's the second shortest in the whole universe, and apparently, the monkey, Scrunch the monkey.
I was about to say.
No, I think Scrunch the monkey's taller than him.
No, Scrunch is a little shorter.
Not by much.
Not
though.
by much, but
Yeah.
it is a little shorter. Anyway, Ratchet and Clank is a series that is near and dear to our hearts, and it's probably the reason that Donald has bought the PS3, the PS4, and likely the PS5.
I can't deny it.
So,
There's other
yes.
games I'm looking forward to on the PS5, but I'm waiting until this comes out.
This comes out to buy it. Yeah.
Just so I can,
Hey, the price might come down ever so little, but I doubt it. But
right.
anyway.
I don't want to buy a console for one game, I got a lot of enjoyment on my PS4 other than Ratchet and Clank.
Well, PSP you only did for like 2 games or whatever it was.
Yeah, and PS Vita.
Oh, and the Vita too. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Vita. Your name may mean life, but you are dead.
No, my fond memories of handhelds, because I didn't really have too many consoles growing up, but he was more a console guy. Moving on to the last one, and I was very, very surprised to see this on here, honestly, but
well, you're welcome.
thanks. Nominee.
The Nerds Are Us podcast, the new podcast from Mr. David over there.
Yeah.
Who goes by Matt in that show because
there's not another Matt.
There's not another Matt. So
Yeah, one of our joint friends and I are doing a podcast about just us nerding out. It's based on a joke that our room used to be titled "Nerds Are Us," and so we finally decided to do something about it.
yes, it's like
But I have most of the first episode figured out. I got to do some editing.
I've listened to
tweaks
it.
and
It's
add
quite
some stuff.
good.
Well, thank you.
And I'm gonna keep listening to it. It's the least I can do when you keep listening to Paleobites.
I try and keep up with the Ritwood too. I've been trying.
Well, I
to
know,
catch up
but
on
I mean, bring up
Paleobites.
Paleobites is because you're not on that one
Right.
yet.
Well, I'm on the exclusives. For more on that, check out Patreon.
Cha-ching!
You'll need a button for that one too.
No, I just say it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, but yes, so I'm really looking forward to it. At least for my sake, it'd be a little too self-important to have that as the winner. So again, that's not a we thing.
All right, so the winner.
The winner is the most anticipated work of 2021
between both of us.
Between both of us, which go figure is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Yeah. First time a video game has won, I think.
I think so. But hey, I mean, all of the movies that we did mention in this category are ones that are highly looked forward to.
I mean, honestly, I'm probably
for
looking,
various reasons.
I'm probably looking forward to Godzilla vs. Kong and Black Widow more, but
again,
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is the one we're both looking forward to.
Well, again, it's kind of it's a me thing rather than a we thing. So I am looking forward to Black Widow myself. But.
That's true, and yeah.
Well, and
I'll probably make you watch Godzilla vs. Kong at some point. So.
Well, you better show me the first 2 before that, otherwise
Yeah,
I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah,
my CDO kicking in.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it.
Well, we've got the Witties done, but we do have our regular segment to end with, and that is reading the fan mail. So I'm going to go through these real quick. Apologies if you aren't hearing it very well. Go back and play it at slow speed. Is that even the thing? Anyway, moving on. We have our first one today comes from listener Joe R. in Nebraska saying, I've been listening to quite a collection of episodes recently, and it's been really helpful, encouraging me to keep writing some on my newest idea.
Thank you, Joe.
That's great news, Joe. Thank you very much for listening. We're glad we could be of assistance.
Yes, of course. We like to help people, those that are not as good as us, because we are better than you.
You're saying it this time. We have another here from Abigail N. in Minnesota who writes, I just wanted to ask if you guys had considered doing live video for these. I'm sure there are other ladies out there wondering what you look like in person.
This one isn't real.
You sure about that? No.
Yeah.
I mean, Abigail, if you go to the Matthew Donald webpage, his picture is plastered all over it. Heck,
Hey,
we're posing opposite each other on the Ritwood page even.
And also your picture
you
is
can
on the thing too, about the host. There's a picture of both of us. That's not on the website. I mean, it is on the website.
On the Ritwood page. So if you click the Ritwood, it'll show that
So about
thing.
the host, it's us by a tree in my backyard.
Oh, God, you used that picture?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. As to live video, we do talk about it in jest, but mostly is mining for like the few joke opportunities it brings. So like, we have a joke counter of times we did a cheap plug or whatever.
Live video would be great because you're like, hey, David.
Between that and the lingering restrictions thanks to a now toddler-aged pandemic, it'd be really hard to operate a video to add because you obviously have to have a camera and you need a person
Where do we
for
even
it.
set up a camera in here?
But hey, if you're curious to have a video of some kind, please go check out the backlog of our oldest eps that does exist on YouTube. Ding!
And they are uploading on YouTube now automatically. It's great.
I haven't been paying attention to whether they have or not. But
They have been.
Good. All right, and the last one here from Julian V. in California. He apparently wants us to announce to all of you that he's no longer choosing to listen.
Aww.
I'm branching off. Your advice hasn't worked all that well, and it's been so inspirational to know I'm better than you that I'm going to start my own podcast. I hope you discover it accidentally after I've stolen all your listeners and give them the word.
Hey, I've heard of this guy before. Isn't this Stuart from our skits?
Stuart has a different voice.
Not really.
Yes, he does, because he's a lisp thing.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And no, he's got the Elmer Fudd lisp, too.
Either way.
I'm branching off. Your advice hasn't worked all that well, and hope you discover it accidentally after I've stolen all your listeners.
That's too mean-spirited, Julian. Don't you dare. Besides, why would we actively tank our own efforts at cultivating an audience just to send them over to you? That's really, really...
You know what? I don't care. Take our audience, Julie.
I hope they don't ever hear about your podcast other than this, obviously. But hey, if you're still listening and choose to come back next week, then we're thrilled.
Listen to Julian's podcast, listeners.
I don't know what it's named. I don't think you'll ever be in contact with us again.
The great and mighty Julian, I'm assuming.
This is all about him, obviously. Anyway, with that fan mail out of the way, that's it for this week.
Yes, thank you very much. A huge thank you to all our patrons so far, which Julian is going to steal here soon. But
well, he doesn't have to steal our patrons. You can support multiple groups on Patreon at the same time.
I guess that's true. That's true. You can contact us at mattd@methodon.creator for any general questions to either co-host.
Hey, do the Witties more often. No.
Yeah.
But if you want to send us an email about that,
I'm going to take that clip that
episode ideas, or
when you said do the Witties more often, you have that recorded. I'm going to use that so much against you.
God damn it.
You reap what you sow, anyway.
I didn't sow that. It was a planted suggestion.
Anyway, see how it holds up in court. Anyway, so if you want to follow me personally, you can follow me at Matthew.Creator.
That's just selective parsing of what I said.
Yeah, news media does it all the time. If you want to follow me personally, you can follow me at Matthew.Creator on Facebook, at Matthew64 on Twitter, and Matthew64 on Instagram. Why 64? Because that's how many pounds I weigh, of course.
Oh, yeah, sure. Really?
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. That's how many pounds my ass weighs.
Oh.
32 pounds per cheek. I'm real thick, bro.
Yeah. Listeners should note that he did manage to spell that word with 2 C's, trying to keep up with the times here.
So long, listeners.
All right, until next time, we'll be back with a different set next week. But thanks for listening to the Writ the show.
I'm Matt Donald.
Have twitted ourselves out. I'm Matt David. We'll see you next time. Until next, keep safe, stay healthy, stay writting.
Stay washing your hands.
That'd be good too.
And writing.
I said writting.
That's just my
Bye.
name. Bye.
The Writ
Frick! Even on a podcast, nothing works.